So first of all, so the tutorial will be about the software PyMCA, and in particular within the software, a sub-tool which is named ROY Imaging. If there is anybody following us on YouTube right now or later and would like to follow the tutorial, just send an email to me, cot@esrf.fr, and I will send the tutorial. Or if for any of you lose it and you want to get the electronic version, you can also send an email. First, I would like to thank Armando Solé, who is the father of PyMCA, and who agreed to join us. So Armando, if you can stand up so that people can put a face on a name. This is Armando Solé, who is developing, because he's still developing PyMCA. So let's start with some words of introduction. So first, if you want to install PyMCA on your computer, you should go on this website, pymca-sourceforge.net, and then you have a couple of things. In particular, here you have the download page. You can see that you are invited to register to a mailing list. And that can be very good because then you are aware of the last updates and so on, and you can also see the questions of users and possible answers. And so if you go to source download page, if you click here directly, you have the .exe file, but if you are using a Macintosh, this is also possible. You will find the proper documents here. So now we are at the version 5.5.4, and you can find the file for your computer or your Macintosh. So if I come back on the previous pages, there are also some documentation and tutorials. So in particular, ROY Imaging, there is already a tutorial which is a bit different from what I'm going to show today. There is some overlap and some novelties in the document. But just don't hesitate to have a look to the web pages, because you may find answer to your questions. If you don't, you can always ask to the community or to Armando for some help or for also some additional developments. Okay, then PyMCA, so first the name. It means, if you don't know, and first you have to pronounce it PyMCA, because I know that the Spanish people say PIMCA or whatever, so PyMCA, and there is a reason for that. Py for Python, MCA, multi-channel analyzer. The name MCA is or was a standard electrometers which were used or which are used to control X-ray fluorescence detector, SDD detectors. And at the beginning, and still, it is still the case, the core mission of PyMCA was to deal with X-ray fluorescence spectra. So this kind of spectra, and in particular to provide users with a tool for fitting. So what I explained 2 days ago. No. Voilà. When you have an X-ray fluorescence spectrum and you want to fit it under, to decompose it over several elements. But as you saw over the 2 days, at the SRF, usually we don't produce single or very few spectra, we produce maps of, in particular, X-ray fluorescence maps. And on top of, in addition to fitting spectra, we needed tools for managing 2D images. So this is how we obtain the maps. And what we do, again, is that at every pixel of this map, we will have X-ray fluorescence spectrum. So you can fit such map, but another approach, a more qualitative approach, is to perform ROY images, ROY for region of interest. What does that mean is that if, for example, you would like to get a qualitative idea of the intensity of the peak of silicon, you define a region of interest, a ROY, and then the software will calculate the intensity of this peak. And this is a bit what we will start with in the tutorial, and then you have this kind of ROY maps. What is very interesting in PyMCA ROY imaging tool is that initially it was developed for X-ray fluorescence, but Armando implemented the possibility to deal with any type of hyperspectral data. And now we use it also for XRD, 2D Xanes, infrared, Raman, possibly Pixie, possibly mass spectra. Any data where you have usually 2D, it can even be 1D, space dimensions, and a third dimension, which can be angle, wave number, energy, or whatever. So that's the basic principle. And so tomorrow what I will show you is how to use this software. So maybe you will use it for X-ray fluorescence, but you may also use it for any maps. And the examples I'm going to show today is indeed an infrared map. So a few words about the case that I will consider, which was provided to me by Geert Nuits from University of Antwerp. So Geert was working on understanding this degradation phenomena, which is a blackening of some glasses, which is called the manganese staining of archaeological glass. And in addition to understanding this phenomena, so here you have a basic idea of how this happens. You need first formation of a gel in the glass matrix, and then if manganese is present, it can precipitate. So we are not going to talk about that, but I will concentrate more about the formation of gel layer. So here you have some explanation about the chemical reactions which can take place during this formation of the gel. And the idea of Geert was to reproduce in laboratory this phenomenon, and to artificially create the gel layer and to introduce some manganese and to see under which conditions the manganese oxides would form, and on that to assess some cleaning treatments. So the first need in terms of analytical approach was to assess the formation of this gel layer, and this will be the example that we will use today. So a few words about the sample. Geert prepared glass fragments which were immersed in acidic conditions for different times at different pH, and then you see that in some cases there is a formation of this gel layer. And these samples, they were prepared as cross sections, and this is a cross section, this is a glass, this is a gel layer, and to prepare this cross section, the sample was embedded in a resin. So as you will see in the map, we will also have a signal from the resin. So let's start. So I will now follow the document that I gave you. Do you all have the document again, or some people arrive a bit late? Okay, please come and take a... Okay. So the first page was about how to install the software. Now, how to start PyMCA, ROY imaging. You have two options as written on the paragraph 3. The first option is that you start it directly from here. So if I go to PyMCA, you see that here I have, maybe I should go like this. Here, there is directly ROY imaging tool. That's an option. The second option that I will use today is that first I started PyMCA, and under PyMCA tools, ROY imaging. The only difference between the two approaches is that in the first case, everything will be in a single panel. In this case, I will deal with two panels, one for spectra, one for images. Okay, so if I click on ROY imaging, first you will see that, so I'm going to open data. By default, it proposes EDF files, but what you see is that they have plenty of other options. So, for example, HDF5, which is becoming a standard, Omnic, which is the name of infrared maps for the Thermo Nicolet company, Opus, it's also infrared, GCamp, Renicho, I think was for Raman, Perkin-Elmer, FSM files, infrared maps, AIFIRA, Pixie, and so on. So, meaning that there are already a couple of, in particular, commercial software maps which are included here. maybe not what you need. So either you can convert your maps or your data into something which can be read by PyMCA, or you can ask Armando if he has time to do that, and if you can provide him with sufficient information that he knows what is what. And then maybe you can also work on your data with PyMCA. So in this case, the maps were acquired with the software Omnic, and I will open it. Okay, so now, as I said, I have two panels, the back one for spectra, and this one for images. Okay, so what we will have here, this image will stay the same. This is the original stack, meaning that it is a complete intensity over all the wave numbers. And here we will have all the calculations that we will do. So the interesting part will be here. Paragraph 4, aspect ratio. So that's a tool. Here you see that the display is such that this map is taking maximum of the size available, meaning that the rectangles, the pixels, there are rectangles, not square. If the pixels were square and you want to come back to the initial aspect ratio, you just need to click on this symbol here, and immediately we find back the initial aspect ratio. Point 5, I will not go into details because this map is already in reflectance, and this is what we will work on. But if you have acquired a map in transmittance and you want to switch it to absorbance, under this tool here, there are plenty of plugins or additional options. And in particular, there is under normalization, the possibility to switch from transmittance to absorption, or transmission to absorption, by calculating I divided by 100 and then the log of this calculation. But in our case, the data is already in the good format. Then, paragraph number 6. So if I go to the spectra window, there are two things on which I'm not happy. I mean, there are things that we need to do. The first is here on the y-axis. What has been plotted here is the sum of all the pixels, which is interesting, but which is not necessarily the best thing to do, in the sense that I prefer to work on averages rather than on sum, because if I make a selection of 3 pixels or 10 pixels, I don't want the number of pixels to impact the result. So I prefer to work on averages, and to do that, under this image window, if you click on this symbol I divided by n, if I let the mouse on it, voila, you see that it's written, if checked, spectra will be added normalized to the number of pixels. So if I click on that and I say replace, now I have something which is an average, which is, in this case, it's not directly absorption because of the setup we were measuring in reflectance, and it's a bit unusual setup, but if we were working in transmission, in absorption, this signal will be between 0 and 2. So I prefer working on sum and not on averages. As written at the bottom of page 4, it's written the name of the spectrum indicates the number of pixels, but right now I cannot see the name of the spectrum. To do that, it's on page 5. If you cannot know, if you don't see the legend, you click on Options, Show Hide Legends. And if I click on that, now you see that I have two sub-panels, the ROI window and the legend window. And in this box, now I have a name, which is stack sum divided by 896, which is the number of pixels. So it's another way to know that it's an average and not a sum, because the name contains the number of pixels on which the average was calculated. On page 6, now we will deal more about this axis. So right now, this axis shows only channels, but this is not the exact wave numbers corresponding to the acquisition. And in this case, it's pretty easy because this information can be read directly into the map file. If I go there, original, now you see that I have a scale which is between 700 and 4,000. So that's a bit, I mean, something that we cannot solve, but the name will always be energy. It's not energy, it is wave numbers, but just to tell you that it is converted into the good axis unit, let's say. If, for any reason, you cannot read the calibration directly from your data, you can also enter it manually. And to do that, you have here calibrate, edit, and providing that you know the calibration, or you have a way to determine it, you can enter manually the values for the x-axis calibration. And once you have edited it, you can also save it and load it later for another map if you want, not to lose this information. Okay, next. Now, from here we'll start, I will say, the interesting things. So far we have just open data and set a bit the way we want to see the map, see the spectra, but now we will start calculations. So as I was saying in the introduction, the interest of PyMCA ROI imaging is to calculate intensity integrated over regions of interest, over ROIs. So let's consider that we want to, for example, measure how this peak here, this band here, the intensity varies over the sample. So we will use for that the tool which is the ROI panel. So right now the ROI panel is already open here. This is this tool. As written in the document, if you cannot find it, it may be because you may have deactivated it. So by clicking on this or this, you see it appears or disappears. So now it's here. You will see that it is very easy to use. If I want to calculate the intensity of this peak over all the pixels, I just say add ROI. I will put a minimum, for example, here. Armando? No, it will work, I'm sure. Report. I report. You take note. It may be because I opened this morning, let's say, a file without going to the end, but I'm quite sure it will work. I hope it will work. Okay, I can give a name. I cannot. Okay, I can. That's a YouTube effect. I think we will stop recording from now. Okay. And then if I go to the second panel, now what you see is that this image has a name, which is a name that I've just given to the region of interest. And this is the way, this band, which is corresponding to SEO minus, the intensity of this band over the map. However, and this is very important for infrared, it may be not that critical for other techniques, but for infrared, the effect of the intensity of the background can be very high and can have a strong impact on these maps. So, in particular for infrared mapping, it's very important to make a distinction between the net intensity and the raw intensity. So, to explain you that, I go back to my PowerPoint. Voilà. By default, if you don't specify it, PyMCA ROI imaging will calculate the raw intensity. So the intensity from here, from 0 to the spectrum. But again, for example, because this is an X-ray fluorescence spectrum, but the logic is the same. If you have, for example, here an element which is contributing a lot, for example, you see that here the silicon would contribute or the scattering would contribute and so on, you may prefer to work on net intensities. Net means that you will calculate the intensity only above the baseline going from the intersection of the spectrum and the mean and the max, so above this line. Meaning that the definition of mean and max is very, very important. Because, for example, if I put this minimum, I don't know, somewhere a bit lower, then you may have an artifact due to the signal of this other element. So if I go back to PyMCA, here, this is this tool here on the B. If it is clicked, there is a background subtraction. So if I click on that, now you see that the map is a bit different. You may have seen a difference in particular in this region here. I will do that again. So this is the raw image and the net image. Okay? And something also which is different is that in the name of the map, there is this symbol net, which is a way for you to remind that this option was activated. Okay, and so as I was saying, when you define the region of interest, you can also zoom in to see better. It's very important to define properly the minimum and maximum values. Okay. So that's fine. Then at the bottom of page 8, once you have calculated an image, you can save this image in a list of images by clicking on Add Image. And then you see that I start to populate here a list of images, and then we will have additional tools in this particular box. Okay. So let's calculate a second region of interest. If I take the second peak, something like this, and let's say I have no idea what is this, what is the explanation of this peak, so I will just name it based on the position of the max, so something like 1050. Okay. And you see that this peak is more intense in the corrosion layer. If I add this image, then I can, for example, superimpose the two maps, one in red, one in green, and I can see like this if they are colocalized or not, and so on. And I will take a last peak, which I know is already attributed to the embedding resin, to the esters of the embedding resin. Okay, you can zoom to check, something like this. Okay. And it fits with what I was expecting based on the visible image. So we have here the resin which is distributed like this. If I say add image, then I can have maximum of 3 components in red, green, blue display. So you will see that you have plenty of options. For example, you can switch to logarithm, gamma. You can play on the, you can, let's say, increase or decrease the maximum of one map or another. You can choose a way which will be the red, the green, and the blue, plenty of things. And once you have this list of images, you can save them either individually or all of them together, so meaning that all these things can be saved for future analysis. Now, let's imagine you have, I don't know, 10 samples, 20 peaks. It will be very time-consuming to do this one by one. So there is a tool which is very interesting. It's a kind of batch ROI calculation. So providing that for one sample you have defined a list of regions of interest, you can save this list. So I will save it. And going back to the map, you have the possibility to run the calculations of all the ROIs in your list in a few clicks. So it's under this, again, this tool, plugin, Stack ROI Batch. You just need to give very few details. First, which will be the configuration file, so meaning the list of the region of interest and the name. Where do you want to save results? And here I will not select this HDF5, and what will be the output of the calculation. So I can call it glass, for example. And I just click on OK. Just for something which may be of interest, if you don't want to do that afterwards, you have the possibility to click on this TIFF, meaning that not only these images here will be produced, but also a corresponding file already in a TIFF format. Okay, and then immediately I have all the images which were in the list of ROIs. So first, there are the raw calculations, and then the same region of interest, but net. So you have all of them, and in a single click, add all, you can have all the peaks you are interested in. So that's when you are dealing with many complex samples, many peaks, many samples, and you want to apply the same calculations for all the samples, this tool can be very useful. Okay, so we were in page 10. In page 11, there are additional tools, but I will come back to that later. We will first go to page, maybe let's go to page 13, and then we will continue with spectra. On page 13, so paragraph 9, what I wanted just to underline, which was, I was completely ignoring that, and maybe some of you also ignore it, so I prefer to mention that. Once I was at a conference, and I was presenting results like this. And somebody came at the end of the conference telling me, you know, your red-green maps, for me, they were completely invisible. I could not understand anything because the guy was colorblind. And apparently, there is a high percentage, maybe something 10% of males which are affected by this. And on the bottom of the page, you see what they see. When we are, this is the red-green, and this is what they see. So for them, it's light brown, dark brown, but not more than that. If you want to avoid, for example, to have this situation in front of a reviewer or in front of, in your publications or communications, a simple way to manage that is instead of having red-green, you should use magenta-green. And to get magenta is just to put, in addition to red, you put the blue, and then the red becomes magenta. And for them, for the colorblind people, the contrast is sufficient. This is what you have at the bottom of the page. So there will be something like yellow and blue, and which is really, so keep this in your mind for your future publications. We are not necessarily, I don't know if there are colorblind people here who can confirm that they appreciate to see something like this, but as far as you know, this is something that you can take into account. I close the bracket, and now we open a new paragraph, a new set of tools which can be very interesting, all those which will help us in calculating averages of spectra. So, for example, if I go to the second region of interest, or let's take the first one. Okay, now I know that the glass is here, and I may be interested in getting an average spectrum of the signal only in the glass. So, we will use these different tools which are here. The first here is to reset all the selections. This one is a local eraser. This one is to select rectangle. So if I click on it, you will see that, for example, I can do something like this, and then I have selected these pixels. The next one is a brush, so I can select maybe something like this. The next one is to define the brush size, like that. Okay, so I will take something like this. And if I'm happy with the selection, I said add MCA. And then in this panel, I have a second spectrum, a bit different. And the title, the name of the spectrum, contains different information. The name of the ROI which was selected when I made the pixel selection, so this name, plus the number of pixels which have been selected. You have the possibility to change this name. If this is not the name you would like to get, you just right-click, rename, and then, for example, I can say this is glass. Okay. And we see that between the average and the global average and the local average on the glass, there are some differences. Now, if we go to the second region of interest. Okay, so you may think, okay, let's take a small brush and we will go like this. Okay, that's fine. I will manage, but imagine a case where you have, I don't know, 100 cells. Okay, it will be very time-consuming to click 100 times on all the cells. So there is a tool which is very useful for that, which will be an automatic selection of pixels based on their intensity. So if I clear the selection, under this tool here, you see that I can reset the selection, invert the selection, take all the pixels which are more than the max, those which are between the min and the max, or below the minimum. So for example, here, I would like to select all the pixels which are, let's say, intense. If I do that, if I say all those which are more than max, right now I have only one pixel. Bon, that's a starting point, but not sufficient. But what I can do is that I can artificially decrease the max level. So under this tool here, change color map, you have plenty of options. So just for your information, you can also switch to grayscale, inverse gray, and so on. But you can also decide what will be the min and the max. So if you click on auto scale to remove this automatic option, if I decrease the max, you see that now the contrast is decreasing. I have many more pixels in red. And if I do select more those which are higher than max, now I have many more pixels which have been selected. And so if I come back to the auto scale display, okay, I have in few clicks I managed to automatically select many pixels which corresponds to, let's say, hotspots or regions where the signal is intense. And then if I say add MCA, in this panel, now you see I have a green spectrum, which is completely different from the red and the black, and that I can name under, so rename, this is the gel layer. Okay, a few words about what you can do with this spectra. You can save them under different, sorry, you have to select them. So the one which is selected will appear in black, and you always need to have one selected. You can save them under different formats, MCA, .dat. For example, again, to come back to the software Omnic, which is the one that we use to produce the data, under Omnic there is a library of reference spectra. And so if I want to interrogate this library, I have to get the spectra in the right format. And in this case, Omnic CSV is the one which is necessary. You can also save images, like graphic PNG, EPS, and so on. You can also remove a spectrum if you want, or just hide it temporarily and put it back. Okay. Then, voila. Okay, so that was the basic things for spectrum. Now, if I come back here, what I see is that what happens, what are the phenomena associated to glass corrosion? You see that this peak, so maybe I will remove the entire, the red is the glass, the black is the corroded glass, the gel layer. What you see, this peak was consumed by acid, disappeared on the surface during the corrosion. What you see here is that it's not only an intensity variation, but also a position variation. So the maximum is shifted from low wave numbers to higher wave numbers. And this is something we may be interested in mapping. So this is something I wanted to show you. So we will come back to page voilà. Page 11, paragraph 7.5, alternative ROI options. So in particular, in this case, we would like to see where is the position of the peak, not only the intensity, but also the position. So first, you need to define the region of interest that you will consider. And in my case, I will stay on this region, which is covering both this maximum and this position and this position. Then you go in the image under here, which is IMCA, alternative ROI options. And then in this new window, what do we see? This is, as before, the integrated intensity over the region of interest. This is the position of in wave numbers, peak, no, sorry, peak, no. This is the intensity at, yes, that's it, sorry, that's it. This is the position of the maximum over the map, which, so I remove the selection. If I play a bit on the display, okay, something like this, you see that in the glass, the position as indicated here, it's about 10, 45, 46, maybe 49, while as soon as I am in the corroded layer, we shift to higher wave numbers. We are at something like 1080, 1090, and the signal is even higher in the resin. So this is how the position of the peak over the map. And then you have the same for the minimum, which will not be relevant in the precise case. And then, oops, I have to come back to the auto scale. The intensity at the minimum, let's say at the energy of the minimum of the ROI, in the middle of the ROI, at the maximum of the ROI, and the background intensity. But what I think can be of interest for some of you, in particular, for example, in infrared spectroscopy, sometimes we look at the shift in the protein secondary structure, this kind of small shift. So you have a way to, in a few clicks, monitor these positions. Okay. And then one of the last things I wanted to show you briefly are the tools related to statistical analysis. So let's imagine you have no ideas about the composition, about the interpretation of the spectra, and you just want to see somehow the homogeneity or heterogeneity or how pixels are similar or not with respect to each other. So you have different tools for that. You have principal component analysis under this box here, where you can select different ways to calculate it. Here you will say how many components you want to consider. So for example, I will say 4. And if there is a spectral binning and the number of regions. So by default, it takes the entire range, energy range or wave number range. But in the case, for example, in the case of infrared, you may have a signal from the environment CO2 that you don't want to be included in the data analysis. So you may want to exclude the region where the environment will impact the data. So, for example, here we can say that we want to restrict the calculations in this region here, like this. Voilà. And let's go. So now there is a new window with two subpanels, the images, the Egan images, and the corresponding vector. So for example, here we can, this is pretty fitting well with the glass, this with a corrosion layer, this with a resin, and this is, let's say, the remaining signal. And over here you will have the corresponding spectra. You can save this spectra. You can add these images in the list of images, and so on. That's a very good way to get immediately an idea about the regions which are similar or not, where the signal is let's say, to identify the components. Sometimes, instead of using principal component analysis, we prefer to use other calculation methods, taking into account the fact that being for X-ray fluorescence, X-ray diffraction, infrared, Raman, the signal will always be positive. So we can add a constraint, which is the fact that the signal will always be positive. So we have what is called non-negative matrix approximation, NNMA, which is a very good tool to also identify components over maps. So NNMA, again, there are plenty of options. And it's a bit the same philosophy as the options you will define for PCA. You can say how many components you expect. You can also say if you want to restrict the fit to one or several sub-region. So for example, I will take this one. And so on, and then accept. Okay, so again, I have both images and vectors, like this. And what it can be, let's say, what can be good with NNMA with respect to PCA is that the vectors resemble much more initial vectors rather than what you may have with principal and component analysis. So for example, here, I clearly see that the signal is a non-degraded, non-corroded glass. This will highlight what happens specifically in the corroded gel layer. And this one will probably be, what is this one? This is the embedding resin, and so on. And the same way, you can add all, and you can save the vectors. So recently, Armando added the possibility to save all of them, so that you don't have to make that manually. So it can be very, very powerful for let's say, a first characterization of complex systems. And the last thing I wanted to show you is on the last page. Something that I did not mention yet is the fact that, so it's a paragraph 11, page 16. Corresponding to this infrared map, there is a visible image. And it may be good also to use this visible image, or it is visible, but it could be whatever other characterization technique, maybe electron microscopy or whatever, any other image you have or contrast you have of your sample that you would like to compare with this, with the results of these maps. So under, again here, select external image tools. I will take so this is the visible image of the sample as provided by the Omnic software. So in this particular case, what you see is that on top of the image of the sample, there are also indications of the map of the thing. So many things which are not relevant which do not correspond to the map itself. So I will draw a rectangle corresponding to the map, and then I resize the map to this particular area. And if you click on aspect ratio, voila. Now we have the pixels in the visible map which fits with those in the infrared map, except that I still need to do an up-down flip so that we are exactly as we were in the infrared. You have also the possibility. This really depends on the way data is saved by your software. So you may have a left, right, or up-down flip to consider. And what is interesting is shown page 18, is that if you click on the mask, you have additional options, and notably, one that I find very interesting is that you can superimpose the visible and the calculation of region of interest very easily, like this. And what also things which are interesting is that if you have a contrast, a good contrast on your visible image, no contrast on the hyperspectral data, you can make any selection also on this visible image. So for example, if I take this rectangle and I want to highlight the composition of this particular region, if I go back to this map, you see that these pixels have been selected. So it may also be a way to identify regions and to extract pixels from these regions. And that's a bit what I wanted to tell you. So I think maybe we can stop recording from now on, if you want, and you can ask me questions, and also to Armando, if you want, we can stop recording, and we can. I mean, if something was not clear, we can come back, or if you have questions, if there are tools, things that deserve more explanations. Was it clear? Okay. Yes. good point. I forgot to mention that. So you can restart now. I'm joking. We stop recording. Yes, indeed, there are plenty of tools for calculations. I forgot to mention that. Under what we call RGB correlator, red-green blue correlator, you have this. Indeed, your point is very, very good because there are a couple of options that I wanted to mention. Here, this sigma, under this sigma, you have the possibility to open image calculator. I think it is somewhere in the document. I probably skipped it, but I think it's written somewhere. Anyway, and if you open image calculator and you let the mouse like this, alors, voilà, voilà. Okay, here you see how you should write your calculation. So you will indicate on which maps you want to run the calculations by giving the number of the image into curly brackets. So for example, if I want to calculate the ratio, which does not make any sense, but just for the example, of corrosion divided by the glass, I do that by, okay, I know that the corrosion is number 2 divided by number 1, calculate, and then, okay, here I have a few pixels which are giving no sense to the result. Voilà, I have something like this. Okay, and this result, you can give it a name, I don't know, whatever, huh? It does not make sense, but and you can add it in the list of images. What I also wanted to mention is that, for example, here we clearly see the phenomena, but sometimes you may like to come back to a 1D instead of a 2D. For example, we may wonder how large, how thin is a corrosion layer. And to calculate this kind of things, there are additional tools under this tool here. This one, the profile here. So if I select, for example, this map, and I click on this, I have a new window. And what I see now, so I selected the vertical line, I click somewhere. What I see is for the two images, two maps that I selected before, it's the profile along this line. So for example, so again I have to display the legend, otherwise I don't know what is what. In black, this is the profile of glass, which is indeed, there is no glass at 0, and then the glass is, the intensity from the glass is increasing. And for the red, which is the corrosion, you see that, again, no corrosion out of the sample, and then a huge peak, and so on. And again, there are plenty of options for calculation, like averaging, smoothing, derivating, that you can find in this display. What is also interesting is that you may not have a sufficient, for example, signal-to-noise ratio or data quality, and you may like to average in the width of the profile. So this you can do easily, like this. Meaning that this now is the average of all these pixels, or let's say 1 pixel here is the sum, maybe more than the average, I think. The sum over the width, like this. Okay? And this was a vertical selection, but you could also imagine, so I will decrease the width, otherwise it will not work, to have something any direction. Okay?
I have shown just the one, it's 100, and then you have them there, and there would be also a simple shift option just to see them one on top of the other.
What I particularly appreciate is that I can use it for many kinds of data. So once I know how to use it for infrared and that I can use it for X-ray diffraction or fluorescence, I find it very, very convenient. And something that I did not mention is, for example, when we do X-ray diffraction mapping, if we put X-ray fluorescence, we can have for 1 pixel, 2 sets of data, the fluorescence and the diffraction. And PyMCA can also allow you to analyze the 2 sets together.
So here you see a diffraction map, and I can open the map that was collected simultaneously with the fluorescence. So here you see the two things. So let's say I'm not going to go through the process of calibration or whatsoever. Just trust me that this peak here is copper. So I'm going to name it copper.
Also, what you see here is that Armando started directly raw imaging. So you see the difference is that he has only one panel for the spectra and the images. So it's a question of habits. He prefers like this, I prefer the other way, but you choose the one you like more.
So there I have my image of the copper, then I can add it to the correlator, so I have it there. And I'm going to work with normalized spectra. So the nice thing is that I can perform a selection on the fluorescence map, and then I see that the selection is also translated on the diffraction map, and then we see that allows me to find this phase that was very much hidden in the average. So there, if we would have everything calibrated and so on, then we would know that the peaks correspond to Atacamite. And you see that it doesn't look at all as the copper, but that is because we are using the raw counts in the region. If we take just the net counts, just remove the background, that already resembles a lot to the copper distribution. So you can add that image again, and then you see that you have copper in the form of Atacamite, but that you also have copper in another phase.
Which, just to give you some information about the sample, it's a painting fragment from Bamiyan in Afghanistan, which many colored layers, white, red, and blue. And indeed, Atacamite is only in the degradation layer of a green layer, and in the green layer is a copper pigment, but more on an amorphous form. And so it's a good way to see both the original pigment and the very thin layer of degradation.